Welcome back and thanks for tuning in. Well, it's finally time to continue the renos on my table saw. Took a bit of a break. I had a bunch of work I needed to do and also some other projects I was working on for the channel. But now it's time to move this project forward again. So what I'm going to do today is I am going to cap the rails in 05 aluminum. I'm hoping what this is going to do for me is first off, make them harder, wear better. That way they last longer, of course, and I won't have to worry about replace them anytime soon. The other thing I'm hoping it does is it's going to cut down on the friction. So when I'm moving the fence back and forth, it will ride more smoothly, and I'll be able to get into position, and also a position that's a little bit more accurate without having to really work at it, and then of course clamp it down and do the cut I want to do. So that's the plan. We'll see how that all goes. So what I've done is, this is the second rail. I just taped it in position, and off camera what I did is just put a block underneath it, drilled through so that the hole match up, well, the hole for the bolt matches up with the one in the aluminum. And then I'm going to use a Forstner bit. I don't have an end mill, unfortunately. That's the right diameter for the bolt head, so I'm just going to use a Forstner bit to clear it out so that the bolt can slide through this, and of course I can attach it to the main frame of the table saw. So there you go. It's a very easy process, and I had 6 of these to do all together. There are some initial ones, some additional ones I need to do, but I'll mention them near the end of the video. So there's the tape. I'm just going to pull that off now, and then of course pull out when I push through the Forstner bit, if you know what they look like, there's a little bit of a raised edge on the outer diameter of it, and what that does as it cuts through is it leaves these little divots here. So I'm going to pop those out, and again, it's not really matter too much. Aluminum is very easy to cut through, and there you go. That's the whole thing. I just need now to remove the protective coating that comes with the 05 and pull that off. This material that I picked up, it wasn't brand new. These were offcuts, so there is, as you can see, a bit of damage on them, but it's not really that important because I do plan on sanding these anyway. So anyway, that's basically all there is to this. What I'm going to do is flip this over, and you're going to see there is some oxidation on that side. I'm going to sand that down, and then I'm going to sand down the wood part as well. So you can see a bit of pot marks on there. And also when the Forstner bit pushed through, there was a bit of a lip on that, so this is going to sand that off as well. This is just 400 grit, nothing really major, but it is removing the bit of oil that's on this, and also it's just roughing up the surface so that the glue will hold better. And I'm going to do the same thing with a fresh bit of sandpaper, because you'll notice it's kind of gray colored at this moment. That's because this sandpaper, and well, actually any sandpaper, all when you sand aluminum, it just picks up an awful lot of material, and it just very, very quickly ends up filling all the little nooks and crannies with aluminum. And this is a very, very fine powder, but I bought a whole roll of this, so it's very easy for me just to peel off a new one and put it up, just continue sanding. This is actually turning out to be one of my favorite ways of doing hand sanding now. Just a little block cut to size to fit the width of the paper. Just peel it off, stick it on, do the sanding, and it's very easy to remove this and put a new fresh piece on, and it doesn't take any time, which is something I really do like. So I got a fresh one on here now, and I'm just going to sand the wood. Now, if you remember from when I was doing the drilling, I did use a bit of WD-40 to just lubricate the cutting, and some of that will end up just around the hole. And so this is just going to remove that material and make sure it's all fresh. Don't really need to sand the wood, obviously, because as far as adhesion goes, but this cleans it all up, and then I brushed it all off, wiped it all down. And now I'm going to use this activated CA glue, which is another reason why this took a little longer to get to than I had originally planned, and that was because I wanted to test this glue out. I mean, I've been doing a lot of other work for renos on houses and stuff lately, and I've tested it on some projects there. I did some more testing in the shop as well, and I'm actually quite happy with it. I think this will prove to be more than sufficient for holding this on. Could end up being proven wrong, but you never know. Now, the reason why you didn't get to see me attaching all this is because, well, I ended up with my arm and back pretty much in the way for this throughout most of that. It was just a simple matter of just sliding it back and forth. I have about 8-10 seconds before it gets to the point where you can't really move it around anymore. So I had, like I said, it was plenty of time to fiddle that around, but I didn't, because this is the first time I was doing it, I didn't want to take too long, just in case it's stuck in the wrong position, and then, yeah, and it's just done. You can't move it off after that. So, this is where the grooves are on my table saw for, well, in this particular case, what I'm using it for is my saw sled. Runs on that track, and I need to cut these out so they don't interfere with that. Thought of a number of different ways of doing this. I was thinking about possibly using the table saw itself and then just running a quick groove, like just down vertical slot down each of these. But then I just said it doesn't really matter. I'll just use the bandsaw here. It has a metal cutting blade on it anyway. I don't really want to do too much aluminum cutting on the table saw because it will eventually dull the blade. It does take a fair amount of continued use to do that, but anyway, this is just quick and easy. It does make a very ragged hole, as you're going to see when it's done, but all I had to do after that was just take a file to it, clean it all up, and then just attach it to the table saw. So most of this is pretty much done now. I did want to do a little bit of extra sanding on this. You're going to see, first off, from all the work I've been doing, there's a few scratches now. But I wanted to make sure that there's no lip around the hole. And also, I wanted to make sure that it was as smooth as I can make it without getting, too ridiculous and spending too much time on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, after I'm done this filing here, I'm going to take the sanding block you saw with the 400 grit, and I'm going to put a little bit of lubricant on the 05 aluminum, and then I'm going to just sand that down, get most of the extra off, and then after that I'm going to clean that off a little bit, and then use, again, a little bit of oil, this WD-40, and then I'm going to use 600 grit, and it's going to make a nice sort of almost not frosted look to it, but it is going to make it a much smoother. And of course, when you ever do any kind of filing with aluminum, it's nice to just take this is a brass wire brush, and just clean out the grooves, and it keeps it actually doing its work instead of getting filled up. So that's what it looks like coming off of the saw, and this is what it looks like just with the first pass of the file. I need to do a little bit more work on it, just to make it a little bit cleaner, but as you can see, it's more than good enough for this sort of, for this job. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfectly square or anything. So there's a bit of oil on there, and this is 600 grit, and it's a much wider block, and then when you wipe it off, there you go, nice and smooth, which is the most important part. And of course, it looks nicer. It gets rid of the scratches, which is kind of pointless because once you start using this sort of thing, it's going to end up getting scratched and banged and everything else. But anyway, at least for the moment, it looks nice. So there you go. I'm going to put this on the sled. Put this on the table saw. Make sure the sled clears it, and then that's it. That's the next step in this process. There you go. It's all back in where it needs to be. Everything fit properly, and when I mentioned I need to do one more bracket, it's going to be on there where the wood is. But that's going to be internal, so I won't have to worry about it interfering with anything. So this is now, for all intents and purposes, permanently on here. And there you go. Slides, clears, everything we need it to do. Thank you very much for watching. Leave comments. Let me know what you think about this. The next step, of course, besides putting that bracket on, is to finish working on the fence. I need to get that functional, and of course that's the whole point of doing all this. Alright, see you in the next video, and bye for now.